What's up to all our sidekicks and henchfolk out there in the Geek Nation? You're currently tuning into the CultPop podcast live stream, aka Spoiler Alert, aka Super Fun Time, episode 754, where we review this past week's comics as well as talk about some fun pulp culture stuff, whether retcons are necessary or not, which streaming service that you should buy into. Spoiler, Len's going to say no to Apple TV Plus. I'm your fill-in host, Noel Bartocci, patron of Johnny Dissector's Hero Complex, located on 4327 Main Street, Philadelphia, PA, which is a super rad shop which caters to nerds and nerd-adjacent people and individuals of all shapes and sizes except jerks. We don't deal with jerks. Now,
no jerks.
No jerks. Jerks not allowed. JD's not here tonight, clearly, because there's only 3 boxes, and none of them are his. Because he's out tonight. Oh, no, he's not out tonight.
Hey, it's JD.
So why he's wasting his time here with us as opposed to celebrating his anniversary with his wife. Hi.
Hey.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. If that wasn't the most annoyed no he didn't on our anniversary time into the show look.
Oh my god, if that isn't the most annoyed oh no he didn't face I've ever seen. I got on here to let you know that Christine Saucy sent an email.
Oh, very cool.
Oh,
and I put it in the chat.
Oh.
Would anyone else mind pulling that up from the chat
I'll pull
for
it
our
up.
mail section? You just volunteered to read it.
Yes.
Hey, and he's gone.
Here it is.
So
He's not gone. Shushan punched the phone out of his hand. That's what happened.
So happy anniversary, JD and Sushan, on 6 happy years, and who knows if there's going to be another day after he does that during their dinner. Anyway,
Stay tuned next week.
the rest of the family is here. First being Brian Lieb. Brian, say hello to everybody.
Hello.
And as I am off to do, ask you a very irrelevant, stupid question.
Yeah. What is
to
it?
introduce the show. I would like to know what is your least favorite sweet treat and your most favorite vegetable.
My least favorite sweet treat has got to be one of the coconut bars. You know what I mean? Like shredded.
Almond Joy?
Yeah, Almond Joy or Mounds. Almond Joy's got nuts, but
Mounds don't.
Mounds don't. So you see where I'm at here. So
you're right. It's garbage candy. Hang on.
I like chunks of coconut, but for some reason, when it's shredded up and in the candy, I don't like it. So yeah, I feel like there's something out there I like less, but I can't think of it right now. Now, my favorite vegetable, I would have said cucumber up until recently, until learning that is a fruit.
That's true.
Right? It's all green and saladed up, and yet it's a fruit.
I would challenge cucumber though.
Yeah.
Start vegetable adjacent fruit, whatever, because it has absolutely no flavor. It just takes on the flavor of whatever it's around or in.
You don't ever eat cucumber by itself? Sometimes I will just chomp into it.
When I was little, when I was younger, I was always younger. When I was little,
right now, and then I'm older now.
Another one.
And then I'm younger.
We used to eat cucumbers and we just put a little salt on it, and we just sit and eat a cucumber. So
I mean, that's almost a pickle. At that point, though.
Okay, but it's not.
But I eat a lot of pickles as well.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for contributing to the stupid question.
You're welcome.
Next,
but I guess I didn't answer, and I guess carrot would be
carrot.
If you want to go, depending on how we want to get into what a vegetable is.
We don't.
Okay, cool. I like those two things.
Tomatoes and cucumbers are fruit. Woohoo! So also joining us today is Len the Bat Trouble. Len, say hello.
Yo, what up, dog? How y'all doing? Welcome to the show.
So I have a slightly different stupid question for you. Now it's spooky season. It's officially spooky season. And if anybody knows you at all, it's the fact that you love everything spooky. Sure. What is a blanket recommendation you would give, movie or book or whatever, that's Halloweeny to anyone?
That's Halloweeny. Okay.
Well, so spooky.
Okay. All right. I would, if anyone wants to just be terrified by a movie, I would tell them to sit in the dark and watch the first Descent, because it is a disturbingly creepy but outright scary fucking movie.
The Neil Marshall one, right? The cave, the women in the cave, or spelunkers, right?
Yes.
That is a creepy movie.
That is a creepy, scary fucking movie. Yes, that would scare the hell out of if it doesn't scare the hell out of you, then you're a braver person than everyone I know. Because everyone I know that has watched it has said, "Yo, that movie was bizarre." Like, no, fuck that movie. So
I'm not gonna watch that movie. I don't think. I mean,
you've never seen it? You never?
It's really good.
I don't really watch horror movies.
Actually, both of them are very good. Descent and Descent 2, because it kind of just like picks right up after the first one.
See, the Descent 2 is probably very, very good, but the Descent 1 was so good that it scared me from all other descents. Like, I looked twice before walking down steps because of the Descent. I don't fuck with dissension at all.
I don't.
He brings no dissension.
I don't descend down escalators because of that movie.
There are no stairs in my home.
Down ladder. I don't go up the ladder because then I'd have to descend it. No, just done. Rob wanted to throw in there Halloweeny. Ew, gross. Christopher St. Saucy Goodnight also mentioned Midnight Mass was really good. I guess that's a new miniseries on Netflix. But anyway, let's see what we have here. I guess we're gonna get right into the letters. Let's get into the letters.
We got letters.
We have letters.
We've got lots and lots and lots of letters.
And go.
Perfect. And John Christopher St. Saucy Goodnight writes in, does Johnny Destructor have a hero's complex? Heroes is pluralized here, not possessive. He says, and that's the subject of his email, in the body, or a complex full of heroes. I've always wondered about that. Venom 2 was dope. I'm seeing it again tomorrow. Chris St. Saucy Goodnight. Get Outlook for iOS, view entire message.
Oh, okay. So that wasn't really a letter.
It was more of a comment.
It was more of like 2 comments.
Really?
Yeah.
I was expecting a whole thing.
I think it's heroes. I think it's a complex filled with heroes.
Yes,
that was my impression.
Not a delusion of grandeur of sorts that the character of Johnny Destructo possesses.
Yeah.
Also, I think, am I the only one that saw Venom Let There Be Carnage on the panel today?
I haven't seen it. No.
Did you guys see the first movie? The first
Yes.
Venom?
I've not seen it. But
How did you feel about that?
Before seeing the other.
I thought it was, it was fine. It was a silly, fun movie. I mean, it wasn't great. It wasn't terrible. It was all right.
Yeah, no, I actually kind of felt the same way. I ended up not seeing it until video because everyone talked so much.
Same with me.
I just didn't have time.
Yeah.
By the time I finally saw it, I was just like, this was pleasant trash. Like it's just a bunch of charming actors having fun, and the special effects were decent. So I was like, this is fine. It was far and away not the most aggressively terrible superhero movie I've ever seen. So I was like,
you know what? I felt about it the same way I felt about, and I think you agreed with this assessment, with the New Mutants. It's not a bad movie, but because of the delay and everything like that, it got like a bad rep,
no, that's pretty much true. Like, this isn't the worst thing. It's enjoyable. I ended up watching it twice, I think, and I was like, oh, that's cool. So I went and saw Venom 2. It is more of the same, but a little bit more of the same.
Intensified.
Escalated. It reminded me of.
Len, you might not want to do it. You'll have to.
This is only like a reference for I think people around our age. Maybe like 35 and older. It reminded me of mid-90s genre movies that you would catch on cable television late at night. Like, it's mostly about the monsters. We throw the plot at you really, really fast, and it's edited so tightly that it feels like there's chunks missing.
Got you.
So it is, on a nostalgia level, I really, really dug it because it was like, oh, this feels like I'm sneaking a movie at 11 o'clock at night on a Thursday while the parents go to bed. But if anybody came at me with it was stupid and it wasn't well done and it was indecipherable, I wouldn't really disagree with them.
Yeah. But you know what? I can't be mad at them for leaning into that aesthetic with Venom, who let's face it, Venom at its hardcore was just like this, insane tripped out bastardization of Spider-Man that they like turned into this, I don't know, a creature who could be anything depending on who wrote it. And for them to take the movie and then just to kind of like lean in on the cult status of it all, I ain't mad at him.
Yeah, you know what? I think everything about it, and I hope and I feel like this is the intention. Everything about it has a mid-90s aesthetic. The pacing of it, the point of it, the way the humor is, it's just all mid-90s. So for some people that's cringe, and for other people that's just like member berries
right
all up in their face. So I mean, it's fine. It's no Shang-Chi. That was far
a good movie.
so much
I
better.
have seen it since we reviewed it on the show, and I liked it. I liked it a lot.
It's a good movie.
Yeah. I have also found it easier to pronounce it, right? Because I always said Shang-Chi because I just read it, and I was having a real hard time like not remembering, but just like when I would say it, it would come out Shang-Chi until I saw the movie and I hear him pronounce it Shang-Chi, and it's like, oh, there we go.
Yeah, it feels a little bit more organic. Either way, thank you for the email statements.
Yes.
Chris, as a quick reminder to anybody that's interested in joining us on the show, email us at cultpopgo@gmail.com, where we will answer pretty much anything.
Now, let me ask you, Venom is only showing in theaters, right?
Yeah.
Right
it's
now.
only showing in theaters. And I don't think that there is have we talked about my movie going experiences during COVID, where it's up until 5 minutes before the screening, I will check the seating chart and the size of the auditorium before even going in.
Yeah.
So it was like it was 1 p.m. on the Friday, and I just like blocked off time at work and disappeared. And there was only 2 other people in like the 200-person auditorium with me. So I was like, that's fine. We'll do it.
Yeah, that's fine.
But on a Saturday night, fuck no.
Yeah.
See,
absolutely not.
Venom is not worth, even under those, conditions,
Agreed.
me going to the theater to check it out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to see that in the theater.
And I've waited this long for Venom 1, so I'll just wait a little while.
I feel like it's worth a breakthrough case, if I'm being completely honest.
Talking about Eddie Brock in his second outing. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, who cares? You don't see the first one. Anyway, speaking of Venom and Venom adjacent characters, let's get to the first comic tonight, which is Amazing Spider-Man, number 74, Legacy 875. Solicitations are as follows. Oh, it was by the way, it was written by Nick Spencer and Zeb Wells and Christos Gage, with art by Mark Bagley, Todd Knock, and Humberto Ramos. It's Amazing Spider-Man 875, and the whole ASM team is coming together to bring you a massive issue that is the culmination of 3 years of Amazing Spider-Man. It all led up to this: Hunted, King's Ransom, Chameleon Conspiracy, and Sinister War, and so much more, all led to the climax and conclusion of Nick Spencer's landmark run on the best comic book in the world. What will happen with Peter and MJ, Mysterio, J. Jonah Jameson, Norman Osborn, Aunt May, Kindred? Find out here in the pages of Amazing Spider-Man number 74. So, I think we've discussed this run on and off over the last 3 years. And I will say, I don't know if it's because of COVID or just time has felt like it's slowed down and sped up at the same time for the last like 18 months. It's felt more like 10 years since he took the book on.
Yes.
I feel like we started talking about this when we were all like in JD's shop recording the show.
Oh, yeah.
It's been 75 plus issues in just 3 years. So my biggest complaint about this book in general is that it's just been banging you over the head 3 or 4 times a month for 3 years straight. But caught up on the last arc, and wanted to talk about this retcon of a comic book. So, spoilers, they completely retcon Sins Past, which is a controversial story arc from J. Michael Straczynski's run 20 years ago, where Norman Osborn and Gwen Stacy had love children who aged rapidly and attacked Peter and blah, blah, blah. So this 75 plus issue overarching arc was constructed, developed, and designed to retcon story points from 25 years ago that most people willingly just forgot about because they were terrible.
Mm-hmm.
They were.
So it makes me wonder, why bother? Who's this for? And all you're doing is adding layers and layers of convolution to fix something that was convoluted and forgotten. So it frustrates me in a weird way. It's also not done well.
There's
No, it's not.
That's another aspect of the book.
Yeah. So we'll talk about the comic itself. I think it would benefit everyone in this world to just kind of talk through what their impression of what the actual plan was of the villains in this, because it's still not clear to me. But then also it feels like a good excuse to talk about, like, I don't necessarily need to or feel like we should talk about like whether retcons are worth it or not, because when they're done right, they're great. When they're done poorly, it doesn't make any sense. But one like this, where the majority of readership has just like not even been concerned with it and thought it was gone, and to spend almost 100 issues not only bringing it back up, but like weirdly retconning it, it's like I just do not understand the reason why at all. So what did you guys think?
Go ahead, Dave.
You look like you were ready.
Yeah, I thought you were about to jump in there. So I am on board with the retcon, right? It's the kind of thing where I'm like, oh yeah, I never liked that story. Great. I'm glad that they have undone it officially, and not just the kind of comics way of just is gone after ignoring it for a certain amount of time, which also works. I haven't been reading Spider-Man, right? I've only read it when we have read it for the show. But that being the case, and hearing that, this is a 75 issue thing, I would have been just as happy personally if that retcon was done as an aside in a couple of panels where it's like, oh yeah, it turns out they weren't really that. Oh, great. And then that's that. Yeah. So I'm on board with it. Like, I think we differ in that. Who is it for? Well, I guess it's for me or people who also like that. And
right.
I am happy that it's been done, but the execution and the length of time that it took.
I guess when I say who's it for, anybody that even remembers it or goes back and reads it is an older reader for the most part, right? Like,
I mean, who knows?
Is this playing to the old heads in the crowd is what I'm saying. And if it is, or at least largely is it even worth it? Like, shouldn't we be blazing forward as opposed to like fixing message forum warriors?
Well,
how they ruin the character.
Here's the thing. The problem with it is, like B mentioned, it just ran a little bit too freaking long. But the idea of going back and kind of like doing some type of tweaking to a story, whether it was good or bad, to in your mind either just play with the idea in general, or maybe to kind of like massage it away. That's not necessarily a bad idea, especially with the way that comics are made now, because like you said, for as many people who just willfully forgot that type of stuff, there's going to be just as many people who in the back of their minds will still maybe remember it. So you want to pay respect to those people as well. It's like, yo, we do remember that this happened. It's also kind of I think a lot of comic book creators are trying to pick up on the things that someone like Jeff Johns and Grant Morrison did with some of their runs on Lantern and Batman, by kind of like going back into the past and kind of making some sense of some of the more nonsensical things, or just playing around with them. So a lot of other, writers want to kind of like do their version of that type of thing. The problem is, like I said, is that one, this went on too freaking long, and then two, well, the beauty of Spider-Man is that he is a character who can work in a lot of different settings, whether it be, a straight crime story. So he can, be the odd man out in a space adventure or what have you. Sticking him in something that is just deeply macabre and dark, and then just letting him wallow there for as long as he did, that just becomes like torture porn, man. And I mean, like, I know Peter Parker is supposed to be like, the bad luck guy that we're always always rooting for him, but we know is always going to go left. But I mean, like, Jesus Christmas, man. I mean, and then it then just have this stupid tentacle porn creature just following him for like 80 freaking issues. It just annoyed the hell out of me.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of what you're talking about too. Is like the villain is this like macabre villain who's been around for a while. What were you saying?
Oh, nothing. I don't disagree. Like before we keep going, Rob actually asked, "What's your opinion? What is your opinion? In your opinion, what was a good retcon?"
I have an answer for that. I think the gold standard for me still is
Green Lantern.
Green Lantern Rebirth. Yeah, definitely.
Like retconning Parallax.
Yeah. Like written in such a way, in a similar way to how I felt about Universe X, but that was out of continuity, so it's not a recon. Both of them wrote these stories, and it seemed as though it could have always been intended that way. Like there's a weakness to fear, and that's why they need people who are fearless. I think that was good.
I feel like I would not call what I know it's retroactive continuity, but what Jeff Johns has done with Green Lantern and I would say also in Infinite Crisis was he didn't really retroactively change continuity. He retroactively applied different context. So it's retroactive context. He showed so he didn't change what Hal Jordan did. He applied a layer of context onto the event.
The Parallax entity.
Yeah, exactly. Like he created
like, and here's why his temples went white.
Yeah,
and
he didn't do like he didn't actually do it, and it was all in your mind.
Yeah.
Like it was, he just created more context, and actually that's why I think it worked. It didn't negate one thing or the other.
Yeah.
Where this did was it's so weird. So Harry Osborn, evil from like the 60s version of Harry Osborn, who
Harry or Norman?
Harry.
Yeah. Oh, Harry wasn't evil until later.
Goblin 2.
Yeah.
Right? Harry. He was super evil, and he had clones, genetic clones created of Harry or of Norman and Gwen to make babies. Did that a bunch of times because they screwed up a lot, and now it's
wait a minute. I thought Norman was the father.
Norman is the father.
We're gonna hold on.
Okay.
Harry Osborn created clones that were the genetic offspring of Norman and Gwen. Hired Mysterio to hypnotize Harry or hypnotize Norman, Gwen, and MJ into believing that there was these love children. So that happened. Then also recorded an AI explaining his evil plot to his father, who eventually would see it. So we'd learn all this stuff. Then also created a clone of himself to trick people into him being alive if he ever died. Then also changed his mind, saved Peter, died. But before all of this, Norman made a deal with Mephisto for his son's soul to get all the cool stuff that and success that Norman had before becoming the Green Goblin. So when Harry died, after doing all that other stuff, as a good guy, his soul was still in hell because of the deal that Norman made. So all of this was to fight for Harry's original soul not being in hell anymore. However, Harry that's alive right now is actually a clone, and the real Harry did die and he's still dead. Now, Kindred, though, is none of them.
No.
Kindred is actually two people, and it's the clone children of
Norman and Gwen.
Who were in hell, and Mephisto sent them back, I guess, to be not them and convince other people that they're not them.
Because all clones go to hell.
Yes.
Yeah, Marvel has a real
Maybe?
shitty view
I don't
about clones.
So why I think this doesn't work, other than
It's
the
stupid.
stupidity that I just explained,
That's
was
probably
that
part of it.
unlike Green Lantern, they didn't apply new context to events.
Right.
They created all of these new convoluted points in time all around the events in order to make them not matter. It's just the wrong way.
And it also undoes, like, one of the things about One More Day that was cool was like, oh, Harry Osborn's back. That's cool. So it's like it went out of its way to undo.
It went out of its way to undo that, to just kind of let you know that that's actually a clone that was woken up.
Right.
Yeah. When in reality, everyone thought that was gone already because of Brand New Day. So no one was clamoring for this to be fixed. Everyone thought it was already fixed. So we spent 100 issues fixing a problem that was no longer a problem.
I wonder if he was like, oh, there needs to be an explanation for Harry, because that was kind of a question with Brand New Day, and then I don't think it was ever addressed. Maybe it was.
To your point about like this, the too much time spent, like last thought on it, I compared it to Tom King's run on Batman. There are excellent parallels between this run and that run, both kind of overstaying their welcome, yet still having some really, really good ideas and arcs kind of littered within it. The only real difference, though, is I think that Tom King did stick his landing, whereas I think this just kind of became an unwielding beast. But both of them were maybe half length of the run's worth of stories, and then a lot of like wheel spinning and a lot of just like rearranging the table and just a lot of wasted time, because both books were double shipping and had tons of ancillary titles just like tacked on because they were big selling books. So it's like they just became these big beasts that lost any gravitas because they were just banged over readers' heads constantly.
The double shipping thing is tough. That's why I initially stopped reading Spider-Man when it started coming out 3 times a month. It's like, for some reason, I could read Amazing Spider-Man and then the next week read Web of or Spectacular, but I don't want to read 2 Amazing Spider-Mans weeks in a row. Or it's like it's too much.
I'm not a giant fan of. I used to love getting multiple issues of my favorite characters a month, but now we read so many things. It's like you hold off 2 months and you've got 17 issues of Spider-Man to catch up on. It's like I don't care now.
So it's like I'm too far back and I don't know what's happening now.
I'm just gonna set everything on fire.
It's weird. I don't
want to be dramatic or anything, but I'm just gonna set them all on fire.
The other half of the story, or thematically half of the story, with Mephisto. The
part with him and Doctor Strange.
With him and Doctor Strange, I was like, all right, that's kind of interesting that he knows that Spider-Man, or maybe somebody related to Spider-Man, is going to eventually take him down, and that's why he always has been after Peter Parker. But then I was thinking, like, really? This is one of those instances of a comic where it's like, all right, everybody else is taken out. Captain America is laying on the ground. Spider-Man, for some reason, only in Spider-Man's comic is he the one that the Marvel Universe hinges on.
Well, I mean, they make note that it's like changing, and it's actually his like daughter.
Right.
But if Sins Past was still on the table, that means one more day is, and that means that Mephisto already won, and he removed their offspring from happening.
I guess it didn't work.
So,
or it may not work. I get the sense it's like a constantly shifting thing, and it's like Spider-Man or a Spider Person will be the one that takes him down.
So, any last thoughts on this frustrating read?
I also think that that with its multiple artists, it's an ugly comic book. I did not find it an appealing comic book to read at all.
No, that's fair. Actually, I would say that this run was hampered by an inconsistency in art. It started out really, really strong with Ryan Otley being the main artist. There was a bunch of really great artists that came in and out, but for the most part, it was shipping so quickly that it was a shit ton of fill-in, and which really messes with the visual consistency and momentum of a book. Yeah,
and I never understood the whole idea of double shipping a comic book. I just
used to make twice as much money.
I guess I'm just totally against it. I'm totally. I'm like put it out once a month and make the people and people. If the story is good, people will come back. They will clamor for it.
I guess that's why it's only like Spider-Man, right? He's so popular that they are selling twice as many comics. Really,
yeah, it's Spider-Man and Batman. I think are the only books that still double ship. Those are the ones that they could just. If anything, be mad at the direct market, because the only way to make sure that you get these books that you want to read is through direct order.
Right.
And the publishers taking advantage of that by inundating direct orderers, 3 months in advance with having to squirrel away for 3 books a month as opposed to 1. Yeah, it's just taking advantage of current readers, which is rad.
Boo.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about another frustrating comic book. It wasn't really that frustrating. Inferno #1 by Marvel Comics, written by Jonathan Hickman with art by Valerio Schiti. The culmination of Jonathan Hickman's X-Men begins, which I think is a funny statement. It's the beginning of the culmination.
It's the beginning of the
there will be an island, not the first, but the last.
Oh.
Promises were made and broken. The rulers of Krakoa have been playing a dangerous game with a dangerous woman, and they are about to see how badly they could burn them. They can burn? All right, whatever. Mastermind powerhouse, it changed from woman to women. Mastermind powerhouse writer Jonathan Hickman brings his plans to a head, joined by an incredible lineup of artists, beginning with Valeria Schiti, as one woman follows through on her promise to burn the nation of Krakoa to the ground. So, this feels like in earnest the actual sequel to House of X and Powers of 10.
Yeah.
It picks up the story threads left dangling in regards to Moira McTaggart, her being a secret mutant and then being squirreled away on Krakoa. Any necessary reading before this, House of X, Powers of 10, and maybe just the main X-Men title by Hickman, because the other books don't really touch the whatabouts of Moira, or the fact that this whole time Mystique has been trying to have them resurrect Destiny, her wife. So Moira McTaggart has this thing where, it's in this book, seers, especially, precogs can't ruin her plans, and Destiny was going to do so. So I really liked this, but it's so specific. It's hard to say to anyone, like, jump in on the new event. Like, it's really, really specific to House of X, Powers of 10, and a couple of X-Men story points that is very impenetrable if you're not already at least passively versed on it. I thought the art was great.
The art, it's a beautiful comic book.
Yeah.
It's paced exactly how you expect a Hickman book to be paced. It's
unfortunately.
intriguing scene. stop for a huge wall of text. Intriguing scene, stop for a huge wall of text. And I read it all. The walls of text were interesting. They were informative, but it did mess with the momentum. This is not a passive, I'm gonna read it real quick kind of book. It was like you could put it down, walk away, come back, which it's been 3 years, and I forgot that's exactly how House of X Powers of 10 was. Like, I'd read one issue over the course of like 2 days because there was a shit ton of back matter.
I just didn't read that. Some of that back matter.
What I don't. This is a whole different conversation. I don't necessarily prescribe to skipping stuff in the middle of books like that.
That's fair.
Like I'm the dummy that actually reads all of Watchmen when I read Watchmen.
Yeah.
Like
I did
and everything
when I read it again, which has been probably 15 years. But I was like, no, I'm not reading this stuff at this time.
I mean, my 5th read through, I stopped.
Right. Yeah. No, I hear you. There is a compulsion to do so, and I'm not against that. But sometimes when we're reading for the show too.
I liked this, and I would only recommend it to those that are really, really into the X-Men right now, which I'm straight up on the fence. Like, I'm dropping X books faster than anything else. This might be the last one for a while.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is a very beautiful comic book. Jonathan Hickman is a very creative writer. I think it's interesting how you depicted this book as an interesting scene and then a wall of text. If by scene you mean pages of talking heads talking back and forth about the same idea from 9,000 different perspectives, then yes, I guess there's interesting scenes. Thank God for the artwork making those scenes look fairly interesting. This actually reminds me a little bit of reading this in the hallowed days of Kevin Maguire's Justice League, where Kevin Maguire would very often have just a couple of pages where it is just talking heads, and you'd be involved in it because he's making all these crazy faces,
best acting in all of comics.
But the difference with when he did that, the faces were acting and the words that were going with the acting matched, and it weren't a ton of words. It was exactly what that face was emoting. There is text upon text upon text upon. This book is beautiful but boring. This was a boring comic, and then it's 52 fucking pages of boring. Just going from meeting to meeting to meeting. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. Can we all just get in one fucking boardroom and just have it out, for God's sake? Just so that the last page can be, okay, can we vote? Get the fuck out of here. Like, this book was just so freaking boring. But
it was a shit ton of setup. It was a shit ton of setup.
To your point, if you are baked in to this whole world, this whole Krakoa thing, and this whole reimagining of the mutant side of the Marvel universe that Jonathan Hickman has set up, which I will say is very interesting, then I think that you will enjoy this comic book. It's not for me, but if you like it, rock on, reader, enjoy.
I think that these would be read well in like trilogy. Like if you read just House of X Powers of 10, read nothing else.
Yeah.
Maybe 10 of Swords. Maybe 10 of Swords if you're bored.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Then just this. Oh yeah, trade. Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, Brian. I had cut you off. What's up?
No. So I did enjoy it. I only got halfway through, but only because of time. I have been waiting for the Moira McTaggart stuff to pick up. Like, that has been my chief complaint about the X-Men, some of which have been very cool stuff. Since House of X Powers of 10, it was like, oh, I thought we were going to do something with that, that stuff. And they didn't. I like Hickman's operatic style. And he can sometimes be very wordy, and I do skip the interstitials. Although I skip them more with the other writers that have tried to do the interstitials.
I agree with that. Like,
yeah.
And you know what? Too earlier on in the books, they were doing their darndest
Mm-hmm.
to copy Hickman's style,
Mm-hmm.
but then after a while, like the interstitial pages just became like a seating chart.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or
Yeah,
a family tree. Like it just became stupid. And I'm like, I'm not reading this. It's fine.
Yeah. So the stuff that I read, I liked. I agree about the art. The art is great, and I am interested to see what happens. Like maybe I will pick this one up. Even beyond the ones that we've read for the show, because I really enjoyed House of X and Powers of 10, and that like the largeness of those stories. It seems like this will be getting back to.
I'm gonna finish reading this, but yeah, it's this is not a everyone pick it up kind of comic book. This is very specific.
Can I for a moment address Rob Patey? They've just been calling things. He says, "Then why call it Inferno?" I infer, but they've just been calling things the names of previous like long ago events.
It's just like the new hotness right now.
Yeah.
There's an industry term for it. Or maybe I was making it up or read it somewhere. The idea of like a 7-year itch. The readership of weekly comic books usually kind of refreshes every 7 to 8 years, while old readers kind of fall off and new readers kind of come back in. So you'll see a lot of rehashing, renaming things, member berries being dripped in, or plot points being reused, almost like clockwork every 7 to 8 years.
I remember reading something like that.
Yeah, so like Heroes Reborn is only like about a decade or so. Well, it's actually like 20 years old, but like they did like a play on it not too long ago, and then just kind of renamed it and redid it again. And
they did that.
Cyclical.
They used to say that about old Silver Age or even late Golden Age comics. I heard the editors say the readers are new every 2 years. So we'll just tell the same story again. It's much faster.
Same sentiment. I bet there's just a long line of publishers and editors who have their own version of that kind of permutation or that equation. 2, 3 years, 7, 8 years. Either way, it's almost clockwork how cyclical these story points become. It's sequential storytelling. It's soap operas. It just they reuse constantly. Now they're just in this kick of reusing names.
Yeah. Because it's an interesting twist, like, hey, what if we reuse the names? It's a marketing thing.
The publishers of Archie realize that their readers are changing with issue to issue, so they just tell the same story
over and over again.
Or the previous issue of Archie.
Or they're just like, hey, we're gonna kill the whole cast as zombies, and then one issue later it doesn't matter. Or he's gonna walk down memory lane and have 2 different lives. Archie, you know what? If you break it down, we should have a whole Archie show. Those comics are the wonkiest comics. It's like they try absolutely everything, and I just got to give them credit for that. Like Alien versus Predator versus Alien versus Predator versus Archie. Sure, fuck it, let's go.
The Punisher guest stars in Archie.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of weird, let's talk about Deathstroke Inc. #1.
Oh, hey, can I say also about Hal 2814 said a while ago, hey, did you get my email about Titans? Hal 2814, we did not. JD might have gotten it, and hopefully, if so, we'll read it next week. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Deathstroke Incorporated #1.
Oh, good.
I don't, if he has legal standing, I don't want to really step on that. By DC Comics, written by Joshua Williamson with art by
Howard Porter,
legendary Howard Porter. Solicitations are as follows. After suffering too many losses, Slade Wilson decides it's time for a change. When he's enlisted to work with an ages-old secret organization called TRUST, who want to take down the heavy-hitter villains, he's all in. They'll supply him with an all-new team and resources for his new mission into the depths of the weirdest parts of the DCU, including a new partner, Black Canary. Wait, what? Enjoy explosions, kick-ass action, and new outrageous adventures as DC's meanest son of a bitch gets tangled up in a major mystery building in the shadows of the DCU. I said son of a bitch, but it actually says SOB. Oh. That was my own editorializing.
Because I would have said Lobo, probably.
I don't want to give my opinion first this time. So, Brian, what did you think of Deathstroke Incorporated #1?
I was into it as I might have expected to be into a Deathstroke Incorporated #1 comic. A comic that centers on
Please
Deathstroke.
elaborate. Yeah,
I
please
shall.
elaborate.
Oh, that was only sentence 1 of my many
It's
sentence
like,
response.
What is color?
So I really like the art. The art is good. I liked it. I didn't really think about it until you guys mentioned that he was the legend. And I looked back and I'm like, yeah, it was very good.
Howard Porter's been like, solid work for 30 years.
I mean, I remember his Shazam, which was like it was late in the game for him. I mean, it was about 15 years ago. But
Grant Morrison JLA run, his
that was good too. Cool.
Yeah, Howard Porter's no joke.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. But I didn't really think about it. When I was reading it and then looking back, I'm like, yeah, very good. I like what he's doing here when Black Canary shows up. The Black Canary is like in the scream, which is pretty cool. And the same with Deathstroke. I guess I'm interested in the story. I'm interested to see him. He's leading the team. We all know they don't want to work together, but they're going to. He's going to finally pick a side between hero and villain. That's not happening. That's not going to happen. But it might happen in this story. We'll see what happens later. Overall, I was down. It was, it was a good Deathstroke comic.
This comic book has a lot of the vibe to me. Reading it, it felt like a kind of like a mashup in tone of the recent The Suicide Squad movie and the Warner Media TV show Doom Patrol. Like the tones, because it felt slightly askew and crazy with the whole hive, and they're like
with the honey nanotech,
and building bees into people, making bees making people incubators of bees and shit. I'm like, what the fuck?
Who does that?
Yeah, and like a walking honeycomb of a head or something. I don't know what the hell was going on over there. So with that vibe, and then the whole Deathstroke as kind of like maybe on the side of angels, maybe he's only got one wing. We don't know. He keeps his halo in his pocket. I don't know what's happening with him. So the whole idea of this trust organization, which I actually kind of, was like, all right, there's another organization.
Another organization. Got periods in their name.
While you keep talking, I'm gonna look. It's in the book. I'm gonna look up the actual acronym.
Yeah, you know what?
I got it. What it stands for? You mean?
Yeah. I'll tell you, because I saw it and I actually thought it stands for the Transparent Researchers United for Strategy and Technology. I'm like, all right.
I gotta tell you though, it bothers me when people put extra words in there. If you can't fit a 4 in, you gotta work around it.
They also have a bitchin' red logo, bro.
Yeah, well, that was really crazy. So
very 90s logo.
So the tone of it was kind of crazy, but the story itself, I was like, hey, I can get down with a little silly fun with this. I don't mind them doing something fun with Deathstroke as opposed to him trying to be like the Batman killer all the time or whatever the fuck. So I dig that. However, I would have enjoyed this much more if the art was not by the quote unquote legendary Howard Porter, because I defy you to go back to said Grant Morrison run of JLA and look at Howard Porter's art and tell me that it is good. It is not good. It is actually very, very, very bad.
And you need to know that he fell into greatness and he's always been terrible. That's what I'm trying to say.
And despite him having some moments where he is where like I believe he drew like some Flash comic books when he wasn't bad.
Very recently, actually, I think he did a bunch of Flash comics and Crash Williamson.
Most of the time, Howard Porter is just not good, and I found this art to be ugly. Like there were times where the people's their proportions look like insanely off. There were times where Black Canary looks like she is a Black Canary, like little tiny tin soldier figure when she's not supposed to be like that in the book. He gave Deathstroke this super dumb big 90s gun, and then yes, Howard, you were forced to have him wield that for the rest of the freaking book. It was so stupid and ugly. I found this. The art took me out of this book. I really think I would have enjoyed it a lot more if it was a better artist.
I'm somewhere in between you guys. So I liked a lot about this book, but the thing that I did not like about it at all was the fact that Deathstroke was in it.
I could see that.
You wanted blood sport?
I didn't want this book. I didn't want this book. Deathstroke is a fascinating character, but only as at least to me, only as like the Punisher, where he is a fascinating character as either his own adversary and or his own foil. So he's not a cutesy-go-lucky or binary kind of character. Like even in his own ongoing, which is like Christopher Priest's most current run, Priest never made him the hero. He was merely like the plot mechanic of the book, which I thought was the way to handle him, because he's a statutory raping murderer, and we're cool with him being kind of in a cutesy book and running his own team. Like he is not a good guy, but for his own purposes, he has become useful in certain situations. So this whole kind of conceit of like he's picking the side of the angels for right now, I'm like, I'm not interested in reading that. I'm more interested in reading either having his own purposes for doing XYZ and or being forced into being beneficial. Not
right, like Trust has some kind of leverage on him or something.
Yeah, which we now know, unless he again lied to Black Canary. As far as we know, he's altruistically just, tired of sucking. I'm gonna do this now. Which
because he did always have sort of a like his original story was sympathetic, right? Like he was, he
possesses loyalty.
But, all right, yeah.
He wasn't super sympathetic. He was avenging his son's death. That was his original story. Okay,
but he was like.
He was an assassin.
He was like good to them, though, right? One of those guys who was like
good to who?
His family, like him.
His family hated the fuck.
His
family didn't like him.
No, he is a deplorable character. That's what makes him appealing. It's like when you turn him and to your point, Len, there are a lot of like art choices in here that soften him on intentionally, giving him that big cartoonish gun. When they're medium shots. In smaller panels of like him and Canary, they have like disproportionate head and feet, so they're almost cartoonish. So it just feels like a weird cartoony repainting of a horrible character, horrible intentionally, and I don't really care.
I'm telling you, they are trying to change, and Joshua Williamson, I'm sure, will deny this because we started this book. We had the idea of this book before the movie. They are trying to change Deathstroke into Bloodsport from the Suicide Squad. They're trying to give him that
characterization.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they're trying to do, and it won't work.
Can I also mention when Black Canary, dressed up as like a school teacher or something, takes off her black wig, which is presumably over her blonde wig, which is over her black hair.
Well, I don't think.
She doesn't have black hair anymore.
To be fair, this Black Canary doesn't have black hair anymore.
Yeah, I think she probably just dyes it at this point. But it did throw me for a loop. I was like,
well, I don't think she dyes it. I think this Black Canary is
blonde. She just always is blonde.
Yeah. One of the crises has made her hair blonde.
Yeah. It's like enough with the wig already.
From
the
birth.
Cosmic Masters decided.
Yeah, it's like I think it's well written. It's paced incredibly well. Like it was an enjoyable read, but the whole time I was like, that's not. I don't want to read this. I'd rather just go back and read some like other Deathstroke stories, and for it to be even they did that thing that DC does where like the last page is like preview panels from the next year.
Yeah.
And they're all jokes. So I'm like, they're all just like, you know.
Well, not the
Robin
last
you
one.
killed him is
The
a
Robin
joke.
one is fine.
Oh,
Robin one.
yeah, sorry, the Robin one. But it was just like putting Deathstroke and like trying to get into House of Mystery and trying to do this. It's like a weird like this season on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this just feels icky. I don't like it.
Although when Len mentioned the melding of what was it in Doom Patrol? What was the first one?
The Suicide Squad.
The Suicide Squad, which is a movie that I enjoyed, and Doom Patrol I really like. Like it just came back. I'm really into it. And I see those elements more now, and that made me like it more when you mentioned that line. I was like, oh, all right, yeah.
I would love it if it didn't kind of like mess with my own personal headcanon of how Deathstroke functions.
Yeah.
I
would love it. No, I wouldn't. So let's go.
No fixing.
There are no circumstances.
So before we move on to the last two books that we're going to talk about, just real quick, we'll talk about how you can support the show if you like what we're doing on the channel. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, join us in the live streams, say hello, email us at cultpopgo@gmail.com, and or you can contribute to our patreon.com/JohnnyDestructo. Helps keep the lights on and headphones in Brian's ears because he can't seem to keep them either functioning and or around.
I have this both of them.
If you can't contribute, again, youtube.com/cultpopgo, like, comment, subscribe, follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/cultpoppodcast.com. All of it helps and all of it's wonderful, and we thank you very, very much for hanging out with us all, two people that are here, and that's just nice. So I was a very big fan, despite myself, of the first issue of this book. Superman 78 #2 came out this past week, and we're going to talk about it.
Okay.
By DC Comics, written by Robert Venditti with art by Wilfredo Torres. After a battle with a rampaging robot, Superman enlists an unlikely ally to crack the code behind who sent it. He needs an intelligent technological genius, and that can only mean one person, Lex Luthor.
Oh.
So, I overall liked this comic, but something happens in the first 5 pages, and I could not let it go for the rest of the book and had to go back and see if I missed something.
What did it say?
Lex Luthor has hair.
Yes.
And in between scene transitions, he's bald.
I think he took his wig off when he got into the apartment.
Great. Yeah, I can make that work in my head. But I searched every panel to see where he took it off, when he took it off. Is it in the background of the room?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah. You're right. It should be there.
And why does he not have it when he's already entering his house? It made me think, what's the point of the wig if you're willing to just on your commute home rip that bitch off? Why wear the wig? You must wear the wig because you are self-conscious about being bald. So why did you take it out on your bus ride home? I was so mentally obsessed with the fucking wig that I almost didn't enjoy the comic because it threw me off in a very superficial way.
No, I agree. And that is, I think, that is my pick, my nick about this comic book. There are just subtle, slight storytelling beats that are just missing. And that is one of them. I felt the same way as you. I was looking, okay, did he put the wig in his pocket? Is there a bulge in the pocket or something?
I was examining the panels.
Exactly.
To his apartment, I'm like, is there a hook on the wall with a wig on it?
Right,
where is the wig?
Because I'm like you. It doesn't make sense that he enters in without it, right? Because I don't think he took it on the commute home. I think that we're meant to presume that he took it off right before he walked into the house. But why would you take it off right before the house? And even if you did, it should still be present as you walk into the house.
Yeah, lights are out. He's about to turn on the light.
Yeah,
it's not like he's been home for a while and just saw Superman.
Right. Right.
It doesn't make sense. Have you ever watched a movie? There's this really great like anecdotal story about Terminator 2. How the studio was telling James Cameron that it was too long, and he's like, I can't cut anything else out. And they were like, well, I mean, can we cut some frames out here and there? He was like, look, let me show you what it's like when you cut 2 frames out of every single, like, 24 frames per second. Let's cut 2 out, and I'll show you what it looks like. And it just looks like weird, jerky. You're not getting the whole picture. Something's wrong. And that's what this felt like.
And
I know it's just a wig, but that's what this felt like.
But that's what that felt like, and that's what there are different beats in this in this comic that feel like that. And I know this comic is trying to give you the idea and the sense of the movie. Like we talked about that from the first issue. You know, there are moments where you'll see Superman, and then it'll cut to like somebody in the street. You know, just randomly. You know, like the person like squirting a hot dog or something like that. And it was cool. Great. It's a cool little moment, but there are moments here where it doesn't work. There was another moment later on where Superman is fighting Brainiac, and you see Superman fly in. He gets attacked by Brainiac's robots, and then where I just saw the freaking page. Where was it? And then it cuts to the Daily Planet. For the top half of the page, for like 2 panels in the top half of the page, and then it cuts back to Superman, and it's just not a clear cut because it just doesn't play very well, man. It's just not it just took me out of the comic. Also, I like Torres' art overall. I disagree with his choice of leaving many of the backgrounds just very sketchy. And then there's just one swath of color, the colorist choice to just keep it in just one color. I just that also just takes me out of it. It's a fun comic book. It's kind of fun, but those nicks kind of just like they bother me.
I hate to go back to the wig, but I forgot about this, and I think it made it worse when I was reading it in real time. There's a whole page. There's a 2, 4, 6, 8 panel page of him going home in various stages of travel, and
with the
wig. But you wasted an entire storytelling page on his transition to home. Get him home early and show him take off the wig. I don't understand why we've.
Well, I think the reason that they did that is he was trying to call that car, and the car wanted nothing to do with him.
I'm not talking about the logistics of what actually happened in the panels. It's the using those.
No. I'm not talking about the logistics either.
No, you're talking about what it represents. What's it showing?
Yeah, his emotional impact.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get that, but you know. What is the coda, the payoff to that is him walking into his house and then snatching off his wig.
Exasperatingly, like
that probably would.
And especially because when he walks into the house and if he did it right, snatches off his wig, now he's in front of the last person that he wants to have see him bald is Superman.
Later in the book too, when he goes back out in public to call a cab, bald. Just one or the other.
Yeah, I thought, maybe he wore the wig for that job thing, right? So I noticed the wig thing too. I noticed the wig thing too. It makes
sense for why he had a wig in the first scene.
No, I mean he's going to that job thing. He's going to
everywhere else in his life as a public figure. He's cool without wearing a wig.
No, I think in the movies he wore wigs. Right?
In the movies, in the first movie, he just had hair. The second movie. In prison, they shaved his head.
No. It wasn't they shaved his head. In the first movie, he has a wig the whole time.
Yeah.
And is when he goes to prison is that he can't wear his wig. Yeah. They take the wig from him.
Yeah.
He's always been bald. It's always been a wig.
Yeah, but
Rob wanted to say he hasn't seen this much focus on a wig since Behind the Candelabra. And
I don't get that reference. Is that about Liberace?
Yep.
Yes,
Right.
yes, it is. And Rob Patey, if you want to really see some wig hatred, then you need to watch any Tyler Perry movie and then go onto Black Twitter. You'll get.
They don't like that. They don't like
In
it.
real time, or is there a hashtag we should follow? Because I'm in on that conversation.
Whenever you watch it, there'll be something.
I mean, there's so many Tyler Perry movies and TV shows that at any given time, someone is experiencing that terrible wig work at all times.
Yes.
Now about on the subject of the wig in this comic, I read it. I was like, oh, he took his wig off, and then I continued reading the comic. I did not, I was like, oh yeah, he has a wig in the movies, and he took it off. I enjoyed this comic. I thought it was very cool. I think I agree with you, Len. There are moments where, for me, the Luthor one was like, he's Lex Luthor. He's in this job interview, and they're offering him like a kitchen work, but he comes home and he has a secret room in his apartment that is like this super high-tech thing. But I think this issue overall was maybe not quite as strong as the first one, but that may also be because the first one was the first one, and I was like, oh, this is cool. They're doing a really good job at capturing the feel of the Christopher Reeve Superman movies. The choice that they make with Brainiac is very interesting. It was hinted at more than hinted at. It was stated at the end of the first one, but they explored a little bit more that Brainiac is here thinking that he's preventing a problem, a Kryptonian kind of long-term biological takeover, like he's an invasive species. And it's certainly not a direction that I expected the Christopher Reeve Superman follow-up to go, but it's interesting. At the end, here's another thing. The cellophane S in Superman 2, it sucks, right? Like, why is that there? But weirdly, in a reverse, I kind of like that they used it here because it's like, he has it. Why would he never use it ever again? That was the enjoyment that I got out of them, with that.
Why
have it at all?
Yeah.
Why use it?
This takes place when?
I think it's after Superman 2. That's my impression.
Yeah, it's after Superman 2.
Yeah. And so I don't need to see the cellophane S again, but I was all right for the for that callback for that reason, that it's like, all right, if you have this weird cellophane S thing.
He's magic.
I assumed it was Kryptonian technology. That's what I always figured.
Well, I mean, in the continuity of these, is the suit
I don't know.
Kryptonian, or did his mom make it out of a blanket?
Even if his mom made it, he could, at the fortress, he gets a cellophane overlay, I assume, as part of it.
This is just making my blood boil.
So, and it ends in an interesting way. With Superman cowed, he can't let the Earth be put into so much danger. He's going with Brainiac.
Nah.
Rob with the solid 70s references. They wouldn't let Mario Puzo use the cellophane in Godfather, so he had to put it somewhere. Hence, Superman 2.
There you go.
Thank you so much. I hate that I understood that. I all hope is not lost in how I feel about this series. I still think it's very charming. It's just this one, there were weird story beats that would be in any other comic that were missing, and they just I felt them missing, no matter how inconsequential that they were personally.
Yeah.
Including what you mentioned, I'm in a rundown house, except knock knock.
My secret thing. And yet I am still reporting to this job.
Yeah.
That, does he have to as a condition of his
Maybe
parole?
It's part of his
I
parole. I don't know.
And I refuse to believe that even the Christopher Reeve Superman doesn't know another smart person to take the Brainiac head
even the Christopher Reeve version.
Well, see, I figured that was the which I think was especially strong in the Silver Age of Luthor, if only you would be good. He was always he was always bemoaning the fact that Luthor, why can't you just use your intelligence for good?
But here's the thing. Here's the other reason why this doesn't make any sense for him to take this Brainiac head to Lex Luthor. If this was the Lex Luthor that we know, it still wouldn't make any sense, but at least you've got a history of that he's good with technology. This Lex Luthor
he doesn't
in this
do it.
universe only had a crazy real estate scheme.
It's true.
And he sided with Kryptonians.
He has the power suit, but in this comic, he didn't have that.
Right, he didn't have it.
Right.
I was gonna say Lex Luthor is a evil real estate developer in these movies, not a super mad scientist.
Right.
The likenesses, though, continue to be really good. Like the Gene Hackman one really captures the feel of that Lex Luthor, and there's a page or two of Superman where he's becoming Superman. It's good.
They're minimalist.
Yes.
We get the feel, though. That's the
But to Len's point, though, like a lot of that background work is missing, and it feels more like a digital comic than anything else.
Yep.
Which I think this originally was, right?
I don't know. No,
digital first.
I don't think so. I think this was always meant to be out in print.
If it was digital first, I'd believe that they use just bright colors in the background, and that's fine. But
I'm more focused. Like I've been mostly focused on the foreground. Ooh, that looks like Christopher Reeve. That kind of thing.
And a lot of them look like Christopher Reeve because I believe he, if not sketching over, he is definitely using photo references.
Especially the flying and stuff.
Yeah, and the cellophane.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. How could you replicate that without a frame of the movie?
I'll ask you guys live. Did anybody else have a chance to read Darkhold Alpha number?
I had a chance, and I took that chance, and I read it.
You read it? I read it also. Len, did you? We'll do this one really quick.
No, I didn't read it.
Really quick. Darkhold Alpha. Every once in a while we like to read the new one-off mini event kind of alpha or omega issues. This is just another one by Marvel Comics, written by Steve Orlando with art by Cian Tormey. Enter the pages of the Darkhold and lose your mind in a mighty Marvel fashion. For hundreds of years, scholars and heroes alike have searched for the complete text of the Darkhold, aka Book of the Damned, written by the Elder God Chthon.
Chthon is how
Yeah.
I guess.
Now one of the greatest sorcerers in the multiverse has found it, and Chthon has found him. To save them all, the Scarlet Witch must gather the world's greatest heroes and unleash their inner darkness, witness the Marvel Universe's descent into chaos. So this is one of those events that has a one-off issue and then 4 number ones.
Oh, sweet.
And then an Omega issue.
Yeah, those are so straightforward.
Yeah, they're super straightforward, very easy to follow, no issues whatsoever. So this is the Alpha issue, and I think it's being followed up by Darkhold Blade, Darkhold Iron Man, Darkhold Spider-Man, Darkhold blah blah blah. So
don't forget the Wasp, integral part of this.
Oh yeah, Wasp. Yeah, sure. So long story short, they find the Book of the Damned. Doom is looking for it, finds it, reads it through one of his Doom bots, so he doesn't go crazy reading it. He's like, "Fuck y'all! I'm gonna go fight Chthon myself because y'all are bitches." Does it? Doesn't really work out for him.
It does not. He was the bitch. It turned out
he ended up being bitchified.
He was.
While he was out being a bitch, because he's pretty vain. He's a little full of himself. He's Doom. Scarlet Witch collects 5 heroes that are all kind of a part of this prophecy of one needs to be a dreamer and an artist and a hunter and a blah whatever. So it's the Marvel heroes: Iron Man, Wasp, Blade, Spider-Man,
Black Bolt.
and Black Bolt. That's right, the Stoic Black Bolt.
The Stoic.
The idea is y'all got to read just a little bit of the Darkhold, get a little crazy, so you're able to enter into the other world to fight the bad guy. But not too much, because then you'll go super crazy. Just a little crazy, so we can all go and fight. What happens? They all read too much, and now 5 superheroes are now all reaction figured.
Yeah,
they all
have
new
a
action
unified
figures.
sort of monstrous red and black look.
new dark versions of these characters, and the only one that looks cool is Iron Man because it's like a creepy ass body horror,
like flesh stuff.
Yeah, he's got
over
flesh
top of his Iron Man suit.
Yeah, like sinewy flesh outside. This book is boring as shit. I didn't really care for it too much. I think
it looks good.
The art's fantastic. The character designs, even though what they did is essentially just like did new character designs for a bunch of these heroes, and they're horror based and they're pretty dope looking. It just all still feels very surface level and rushed. And I know that this event is not going to actually go anywhere or be anything. It's just got like, this feels like one of those like events or miniseries that's just driven by SEO. So like Scarlet Witch, Doom, Darkhold, Magic, Iron Man, go. And they just reverse engineer it based off of what's mildly popular. It doesn't feel like it came from any
like pre-existing
story
or
drive
any
kind of
reason
place.
Well, the Darkhold, I think, is really probably the main thing, because they're like, this is going to be in Doctor Strange soon. We'd like a trade out that says the word Darkhold on it.
Exactly. It feels very. It feels. Nothing about this book feels very organic in like the necessity of the story being told or even the execution of it. It just feels kind of cut and paste.
Yeah, very much so. The Wasp. What is happening with? Why is the Wasp on this team? They're like,
she's an artist.
She's an artist. Like, is she the quintessential artist of the Marvel universe?
She's a fashion designer, man.
She is. It's true. And so I was like, oh, Black Bolt's here. That's cool, because I like Black Bolt. And Spider-Man, the other one. And I don't have anything against the Wasp. And she in the movies is very cool, but she's always been pretty fourth tier for me, Yeah. Rob Patey says it's movie marketing as a comic, or versus as a comic. But yeah, I was kind of like, all right, magic stuff in the Marvel universe. Yeah. I wasn't upset that I read this comic, but I am not planning on reading any of the other comics.
I feel the same way about this that I felt about the Extreme Carnage thing that just happened. It's the same type of event where it was an alpha issue and then a bunch of one-shots. I think that it's reverse engineered. It's kind of forced. Synergy can work and it could be good, but when it's misses the mark, it just feels more offensive than anything else. And this was just like, I mean, it was really pretty, but boring. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Anyway, enjoy your comics. That's what we read this past week. We've got maybe 10 or 15 minutes left. Would you guys like to talk about stupid what you've been watching stuff in regards to streaming services? Now,
sure.
Len had a pretty decent idea of, well, we started in the chat just talking about like, did you watch this? Did you guys watch this? Did you guys watch this? And then Len came in hot with, I'm not buying that service.
No, I'm not getting Apple TV.
That's right. So then it turned into we should talk about what's worth getting. So we're going to spend the next.
I'm just going to say, I did see the trailer for Foundation, because that's on Apple TV, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And the trailer looked really, really interesting. And that was the first thing to hit Apple TV outside of Peanuts that made me think about getting Apple TV. I don't care about the morning after pill or whatever the hell the name of that show is. I don't care that Jason Momoa has sight now.
I don't care about C.
I don't give a fuck about that. I don't give a good goddamn how many times the Lone Ranger throws a lasso around Ted. I don't want to watch any of that bullshit. But Foundation looks interesting.
The Peanut specials? Like is that what we're talking about? All right.
They have the Peanut specials, and I think they have like some type of original show. If it's not up there, it's supposed to be.
But Foundation was good. It has like, yes, no.
I wanted to structure this.
Oh, all right.
So before we go into it, I wanted to structure this. I've got a list up of all of the streaming services based off of popularity with user base.
Okay, cool.
Call them out, and someone pipe in and make a case what you think is worth watching on the streaming service and if it's worth the price of admission.
Okay.
That's what I was doing, all right.
I'm with it.
So
I'm with it.
Yeah, let's make this like a game.
Let's
right?
go. Let's go.
This is no game,
obviously we're gonna start. This is no game because this is dollars and cents. Goddamn.
Exactly.
So we're gonna start with the most popular. We're gonna start with Netflix. So Netflix has a user base of 209 million people worldwide. That's households, all paying up to $14.99 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Is that worth it for what you get out of Netflix, and or what can you not do without in regards to Netflix if you are a subscriber? Who would like to go first?
Well, I'm going to say, look, it's worth it to me. And let's face it, Netflix is damn near a utility now. Like, you just gotta have Netflix, dog. Like, you know, I could be like everybody else and like, you know, like splooge all over Squid Game and shit. But you know, I haven't watched it yet because I saw, you know, the Hunger Games. I saw Battle Royale, and I'm like, you know, I can wait to watch Squid Game. But I've heard that it's good, and Netflix has very good, cool series. I like Grace and Frankie. I think it's called Grace and Frankie.
Oh yeah, you watch that?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I like the Comiskey method. I love that. They have. I actually get into a lot of the Korean things that they bring over, and even some of the more like German and Danish and other like international stuff. I really get into that. Are the names coming to me right now? No, but I usually like turn on it. I'm like, oh, that looks interesting.
What's the popular one right now? Money Heist. I think it's the.
Yeah, I heard
Money Heist and Lupin and
see Lupin. I like
international stuff.
Lupin, I liked the first season. I didn't need to see any more of that, but it was still cool. And I like that Netflix does surprise me every once in a while with something that I didn't even think that I was going to like. Yep, like, yo, I could watch Whatever Happened to Monday like 9 times a year.
Oh yeah,
like,
you know what? I was gonna say that. I actually, more so than their original series these days, because I've only watched like one episode of Witcher, and they lost all the Marvel stuff a while ago, but those were just diminishing returns anyway. Their original movies impressed me more than anything else, and their original documentaries impressed me more than anything else. Like, I do love the investigative documentaries, the murder docs. Those are just like, sign me up. Anything about a good cult, I'm in. But then also like their big budget movies. Some of them have been major hit misses, but I mean, there's been some really
they're taking a swing for it. They're taking a swing for it.
Like,
you know?
And these are high quality productions, you know,
with some good names, man.
From The Irishman all the way to Bright. These are just like big swings.
Bright, and I think Jessica Chastain was in this big action joint that was pretty cool, man. I mean, like, yo, they got some good stuff. So Netflix, yes, it's worth it.
Yeah, I think Netflix has become a honest to goodness movie studio, and I appreciate it. And I am super excited for Cowboy Bebop.
I'm excited for Cowboy Bebop, and they've got I can't remember. There's a black western that's going to be coming on in October.
Lay Low, Where Lies Something.
Oh yeah,
or something. It's something like that. No, yeah, with Idris Elba and Regina King and shit. That looks dope.
Oh, it looks so dope. I like that.
So I found myself a little while ago. I was like, should I get rid of Netflix? You know, like, it's almost unthinkable, right? Because I was like, oh, it's the first streaming service, right? You like, that's what's got. I was like, well, how often do I really watch something? But there's always something that I want it for, right? So, like Dan H mentioned, Lucifer, which just released its last season, and I was like, all right, yeah, like that was a great show. And I think I didn't start watching it until it started on Netflix, right? And Sandman is coming up, right? And I've already started to see the trailers and photos and everything. And the guy playing Morpheus is like pretty spot on, you know? And there's some other cool cast members too.
So we're in agreement. Netflix is a utility.
Yeah, it's like you got it. Oh, and Rob Patey, I haven't seen Altered Carbon, but I did really like the first book in that series, and I've been meaning to watch it.
Altered Carbon is actually pretty good, and after the first season, it switches a little bit, but it's actually pretty dope.
The book switches too. The second book is totally different.
Another slept-on thing from on Netflix, and I don't know too, in the world of sci-fi. I believe there's going to be eventually another season of this. They did Lost in Space reboot.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and that was good.
So good.
It's so fucking good. It is so dope.
The third season is coming out in 2022, and it's the last one. So they literally said it's just 3 seasons.
But it's so dope. And there is now the second season of an animated series that I just turned on one day, just actually putting on something while I worked. And next thing I know, I wasn't working. I sat and binged the entire series. It's called Kid Cosmic. It's about this little kid, about this. It's an animated series about this meteorite that falls into this little town in Vegas and gives people's powers. And I'm not going to tell you any more about that. It's charming as fuck. It's funny as fuck.
Animated or live action?
It's animated, but it's not anime. It's animated almost to look like a bit of like a comic book. It is so dope, so fucking charming. I love it, and I can't. I playing the second season just hit, and I'm probably just waiting for a day where I can just sit and just binge that too. It's so dope.
That looks good. Let's talk next about the streaming service we all have just for free packages, and that's Amazon Prime. If it was just a streaming service not applied to Prime delivery, would we still have Amazon Prime?
I would still have Amazon Prime because I like having the access to the movies on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
As far as their series, The Expanse is worth it for me.
Yeah, I haven't watched that yet.
Oh, The Expanse is so fucking good.
And I think there's one more season coming, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Their documentaries aren't that bad. Also, Amazon Prime, I will say that you, by way of them, for a cheaper price, you can get Stars, Showtime, HBO if you wanted to do that as well. But I don't.
I do that through a different service though that we'll talk about.
I do that.
There's some bundles, yeah,
and I do that separately as well. But yeah, a lot of their series, I love the Man in the High Castle. I thought it was really dope, a dope series on there. I think everyone's. I like.
Was that Hulu?
Oh, no, that's Amazon Prime.
Oh,
The Boys
is right now is the best thing on Prime as far as I watch.
And what's the series with the I'm just drawing a blank on it, with the female comedian. That's a funny series
Miss
too.
Maisel. Yeah.
Miss Maisel.
Oh yeah, that's Amazon. Oh, that show is great.
Yeah. So Amazon Prime is
I typically use Amazon Prime as like a backup when I can't find a movie anywhere else.
Oh,
it's
wait a minute.
It's not the first one I go to start scrolling and checking it out.
And wait a minute, isn't Fleabag on Amazon Prime?
Yeah,
I believe. I haven't seen that.
Oh, Brian, you need to watch Fleabag.
Yeah, and I do like that guy who was in Sherlock. Also, he's cool.
It is just 12 30-minute episodes. You can watch it in a weekend.
All right.
Oh, yeah. It is brilliant. It is breathtaking. Yes, watch Fleabag.
You mentioned Amazon isn't the first one that you go to scroll through.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I end up going to Amazon a lot for movies, probably more than anything else.
Yeah.
But I don't go. What I do when I'm searching for a movie, I'll Google it and then go into the where to watch. And sometimes if I have to pay for it, it's Amazon is where I pay for it. But that's how I usually get to where I got. And Amazon does often have for free the ones that I think we watched 12 Monkeys the other day that was on Amazon.
Yeah, their back catalog of films is fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, as somebody that has multiple streaming services, Prime more than any other has less exclusive back catalog of movies.
That's true. Yes.
So you see the same stuff on Hulu that you see on Prime, that you see on Shudder, that you see on Paramount Plus, that you see. It's like they have all of the not exclusive stuff just kind of aggregated because they're Amazon Prime. So it's a hit or miss. Like I don't go there first for the movies. However, when there's a show that I want to watch, I will follow it on Prime.
Yeah. I mean, and Maisel is really worth the price.
Yeah, I guess it's
for me,
it's the place where I don't discover stuff. It's just I also go there to watch something specifically.
I feel like there might also have been Upload on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
That was a decent show.
It was.
Yeah, that was cool.
Patey loved that show. I feel like he talked about it every week. Chime in, Robert.
Did you love that show?
He'll get in. So I feel like those are the two big ones. That I didn't say. Amazon Prime has a viewership or a membership of 175 million worldwide.
All right.
Let's talk about one of the new kids on the block, and that's Disney Plus with 116 million users worldwide. Or wait, no, actually, it's not worldwide. It's just North America,
that's just
South
US.
America, Northern Western Europe, Asia Pacific, and Arabian Peninsula. They're not in certain regions.
Yeah, they're trying.
I mean, 116 million is a lot for not being worldwide. That's
yes.
I mean, they are Disney and own a lot of the landscape.
Worth it or not worth it. So I actually prepaid for like 3 years. I was an early adopter of Disney Plus because just right off the bat, their foundational offering for me seemed worth it. All Marvel, all Star Wars, all Disney. Animated and everything else, and Pixar, right? So it's like I feel like that's at least 20% of my DVD collection. I should just go ahead and go with this service over constantly getting the physical media that is exclusively owned by them.
Yeah, man, I have not hooked up my DVD Blu-ray player in years. Actually,
and the original content I've been very happy with. Like
the Mandalorian.
Mandalorian,
Loki, I really loved. Yeah, Falcon and Winter Soldier, I really liked. You know what? My wife and I watched and loved the Mighty Ducks TV show, sequel television show, The Game Changers. It was fucking adorable, and we watched every week. I've just been very happy with that offering. It's family friendly, but it's still delightful. All the stuff that's coming up looks really fun. I think Disney Plus I watch almost more nowadays. Like there's more appointment television with Disney Plus right now.
Really? Wow. And I mean, I would say Disney Plus is definitely worth it. Like you said, just for the back catalog alone. And as they start adding more and more from their, acquisition of 20th Century Fox, that back catalog will grow. But it's a no-brainer as far as when if it's worth it for me. So
I mean, it's Marvel and Star Wars. It could only have Marvel and Star Wars, and I would buy it. You know what I mean?
A little extra. Yeah.
Yeah. And The Simpsons is one of my all-time favorite shows that I haven't watched in a long time. I mean, I consider it maybe the greatest comedy of my lifetime. But so I like the option. I like the fact that I could watch it.
I think they just announced too that like season 32 is now streaming. Literally all 32 seasons or 32 seasons of the 33 are available on Disney.
I mean, I haven't watched the new ones ever, but
I haven't watched it in 20 years, but still it's there if I ever.
It's nice to know it's there.
It's so good. It's nice to know it's there, exactly.
And then there's the step brother or sister of Disney Plus, which is Hulu, also owned by Disney. I don't know if anybody else.
Oh, like 1/3. Oh, Hulu is like my main streaming service. To be honest with you, that's and
they are all. That's where all of Fox properties went to die.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're no longer being produced as 20th Century Fox. They're being produced as 20th Century. All of the former Fox properties that didn't explicitly fall into the sandbox of family-friendly Disney Plus went off to Hulu pastures, whether to be continued to be developed or not. They just all exist there now. Yeah, and all of FX is over it.
Oh yeah, well, because Disney owned 1/3 of it, and Fox owned 1/3 of it, I believe. And then when Disney bought Fox, they owned 2/3 of it.
Well, right now, another part owner of Hulu was NBC Universal, and now they have their own streaming service in Peacock, and they've just been pulling things from other streaming services. So,
right. See, that's the thing. Parks and Rec,
it's just going to be Disney Part 2.
Yeah. But I mean, that is Hulu is my main service. I think it has most of the rewatch shows that I watch, like
Mhm.
Bob's Burgers, Brooklyn Nine-Nine is there, American Dad, Archer is on there. I'm just thinking of like the first four things in my most recent one. Reservation Dogs has been really good.
Yeah, I've
With-
heard good things
yeah.
about
Wonderful.
that.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
good show.
And got renewed for a second season, I believe. It's already. I was disappointed to find out that the episode I just watched was the last one of the season.
Yeah, I think it was
a
only
couple
like
of weeks
6 or
ago. You know,
It was only like 6 or 7 episodes for that
Yeah.
first season, right?
it felt like it. I was like, wait, was that the last one of the season? And it was. And I think they have some other new. You know,
Only
like-
Murderers in the Building.
Oh, I love it.
Smart show.
Oh, I'm loving that show.
I haven't watched
Yeah.
it yet. Like it is on the next up block. I
Oh,
haven't
it's
haven't
like-
watched it yet though.
Yeah,
It's a cute show, and Hulu
yeah.
has a lot of cool stuff. I will say, and when there's things that I go there and I do watch, I watch Only Murders in the Building. I will go up there and catch up on Bob's Burgers or Archer and some other shows and things of that nature. And sometimes watch some of the classic shows. I binge the old Bob Newhart show.
Oh,
there.
nice.
But I will say, if it wasn't for Hulu being part of my Disney Plus bundle, I probably would get rid of Hulu.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. That would probably be the first axe.
I
I
think
feel like
that's
they have
fair.
a couple of other new shows that I'm not remembering. You know, like Hulu originals that The Orville is going to be, but not yet.
Yeah, next year.
Yeah.
So who the last few I think can be almost lumped because they are like you know what, actually no, HBO Max I think is in a league of its own because it is
It is
just like
different.
Disney Plus. It is
Yeah.
an amalgam of like multiple different
Ooh.
hubs
Yes.
that they
Could
just like
I-
cobbled together.
Say one more thing about Hulu that I think is different from most, if not all, of the other services.
You have 30
They
seconds.
have. I won't need it. They
Oh.
have shows right after they air, which is nice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that shit's cool. Where you can just watch it the next day.
But
I think
how
that's
many
super-
people? That's cool, and it's
Yeah.
it's definitely cool.
Mm.
But how many people really watch network television anymore?
That
Oh,
was
but
what I was
actually, a
gonna
bunch
say,
of the
like,
shows, like Archer, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and Bob's Burgers, and also The Great North, which I'm really hoping becomes a
The
very
Great
good
North is
show.
kind of cute show. Yeah, I saw
Yeah,
that.
it's good. I think it has potential, and it's got a great cast. But I like to watch those, and I'll watch them, on the night that they air, if I'm around or whatever. But I do enjoy it when I'm like, oh, I didn't watch that last night. I can now watch it without fast forwarding through the commercials on Hulu.
The whole concept of appointment television is completely gone out of my life. The only stuff that I
What about Marvel stuff?
prioritize
Yeah.
is what could get spoiled for me if I'm not paying attention.
Yeah.
So like by default, the Marvel shows I feel
Hmm.
like I have to watch on Wednesdays when they drop because the general conversation will be about plot threads. Whereas literally anything else, I'll catch it in the weekend. Like if it's just a normal sitcom that I love, there is
Mhm.
probably no
And even
impetus
then,
to absorb it right away.
but even then, that's not technically appointment television. Probably
No.
the last big appointment television that the world en masse was like clamoring for,
Game of
honestly, was probably Game of Thrones.
Probably.
Because that
Yeah.
was 9:00 on
Yeah.
a Sunday.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it-
See,
You
that's
know
the
what?
thing. Streaming services don't air at a particular time.
You got me though. Let's talk about HBO Max because for a lot of their Sunday night TV shows, they make it available to stream at the same time that it premieres
Oh,
on
do they?
HBO because
Mhm.
I already made
'cause
myself
you're
a
trained
liar.
for 9:00.
This house had appointment television with
Oh.
Mayor of Easttown.
Oh, all right.
At 9:00 on Sunday nights, we watched
Hmm.
the fuck out of that crazy show, and just stayed on it every single Sunday night. So yeah, so it does still happen, but it's more few and far between than anything else when
Definitely.
it comes to
Definitely.
watching something exactly when it airs.
For Rob Petty, the last episode of MASH was the
Was the last
last
time
appointment
appointment
television.
So HBO Max, they have a 67 million user base.
Hmm.
I feel like that's a weird curve this year because they put all of their theatrical movies day and date without a premium pay on HBO Max, which I think did beef the shit out of those numbers. But their offerings are great anyway. Adult Swim,
Oh
all DC properties
All
that
movies.
aren't owned by others.
Yeah.
Turner Classic Movies.
Turner Classics,
and the new stuff, like Len mentioned, Doom Patrol. And there's a lot of new DC coming out that's for HBO Max specifically.
Yeah, but that's like a year to 2 years away.
Oh, I know, but I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
I mean, like, I wouldn't, if somebody didn't have it now, I'd be like, hey, hold off on paying for it. If you're waiting for the Blue Beetle movie, wait longer before
I'm still waiting for that Green Lantern thing, which hopefully is still happening.
So there's a Hellblazer show in development, a Green Lantern one, a Blue Beetle movie, a Batgirl movie.
They also have all of the
I haven't
DC.
seen shit about any of them.
They have all the DC animated stuff, of which there are many greats.
Well,
most of.
I was going to say, because I like HBO Max. It's worth it for me but honestly, it's worth it for me because of the old movies. I'm just an old movie geek. But where they let me down is just where Noel was going with the animated movies. It makes absolutely no sense to me that they put these films out. Okay, they want to put them out for sale first. Okay, I understand that you're trying to goose up DVD sales. Nobody's buying DVDs anymore, but you want to do that. Nobody's really buying the digital anymore, especially if they're paying for your digital service. So you might as well put them on your digital service. If not, right when you release them, it absolutely makes no sense that some of these movies came out almost a year ago and they are not on HBO Max.
And it seems to be only the ones that are popular. So like Long Halloween adaptation is already on there, both parts. But what about those other like ancillary ones? Like what was it, the dragon one?
Oh yeah,
Dragon one.
Yeah, right.
I don't know where the fuck to watch that.
And I'm not paying for it.
No,
like maybe I would rent it for like $5.
And I thought that, like, because the Batman and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is not there either. But I thought that maybe I can see that maybe that's a rights thing with the turtles
or something.
Yeah,
right. So I'll give you that one. But you're right, the Sons of the Dragon one, that makes absolutely no sense. It's not on there.
I had the same problem with, like, I was paying for DC Universe. And the fact that I had to pay like $100 and you didn't give me that shit day and date.
Yep.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still sour about that, and I hate that streaming service.
Yeah.
Still sour about it.
But I
also dislike Titans. I think it's terrible. But I'm looking.
Titans is
Stargirl.
But that was CW that just kind of HBO Max.
Well, it was a weird thing. It was like DC streaming service, and then the next day would be on the CW. It was weird, but it's good. It's been a really good show.
What were we gonna say about Titans?
I was just gonna say Titans is weird, and I just had to. I don't really enjoy it. I just have a lot of people. I know a few people that do watch it.
You watch the shit out of it, don't you?
I don't watch the shit out of it.
Guilty play. I watch the fuck out of it. It's amazing.
I just had to, just take my head off. Like, this is not my Batman. This is not my Nightwing.
Alternate universe.
Because these are two of the dumbest detectives I've ever met.
I watched the entirety of the first season, but I watched it all passively. Like, I was doing laundry almost every single episode and just like had it on the iPad and kind of have.
It was appointment viewing for you. Like, when the laundry needed to be done, when I needed white noise, I watched Titans, and every once in a while I looked over. I was like, all right, cool. I completely skipped the second season, but I thought, like, hey, maybe I'll just jump in on the third and just like. But I haven't touched it yet. No, I haven't bothered. I saw the trailer and I was like, that's okay. I've seen the Red Hood saga. The Batman casting was interesting. I haven't seen it, but I was interested in
the guy from
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones,
It makes no sense. And the Red Hood saga, it's nothing like the book, which is fine. I'm fine.
Is it in a good way, in an interesting or fascinating way, or
in a kind of interesting way, but it still is in this stupid universe.
The show just strikes me as super edgelord, and I have a very low threshold for that. It's funny, like I'll be excited about it, but then as soon as that weird guitar sting when the logo shows up happens, it's just like fuck.
It's true. It's true. Yeah.
Oh, Rob mentions again Harley Quinn. That cartoon.
Harley Quinn is
awesome.
all that.
Yeah.
I watched most of the first season. It's cute.
Yeah.
No. You got to continue. The second season is even better.
Oh, even better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like it takes a lot for me to start like laughing out loud at a show. Yeah. And I just started laughing out loud. Well, no, because I'll be like, oh, that's funny. I like that. That's nice. Yeah. But like actually like guffawing.
Yeah.
I don't like. I'm a robot. I'm broken.
It also depends. That I don't always laugh at shows, even if something is really funny. Sometimes it's like different experience. That's cute. That's very funny, right?
Come on, we gotta speed this up. I gotta go.
Let's do it. What else do we need to do?
45.
There's 3 more. Like we can hit these quick. Peacock. Right. Does anybody actually have it?
I have it. I have a cable subscription, so it's very cheap. There have been some awesome shows on there. Rutherford Falls was good, but also Parks and Rec and The Office are on there now.
I kind of don't understand. Like I really enjoy The Office, and I really enjoy Parks and Rec. I also will never watch it all again.
Oh, really?
I know there's a lot of people that, yeah, man, it was really good once. I'm in, but like quoting it and constantly watching it when there's nothing but tons and tons more content, I just don't. But I don't find comfort in that. I find comfort in rereading something more so than watching an entire 10 seasons of a sitcom over again.
I watch Parks and Rec more than The Office, although both of them have been. I haven't in a while. But Parks and Rec and The Office, to a somewhat lesser degree, are my good. I've already seen this show. Like sometimes I want to watch something that I've already seen because either I'm doing something else or I just feel like watching something I've already seen. Yeah,
I do the same thing with a movie.
Yeah.
Like something more finite. Instead, I don't have favorite episodes of a show, but of the two of them, Parks and Rec, I did enjoy a shit ton more than The Office.
I do have Peacock. I'm getting rid of it.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I think this month I'm going to purchase the premium plan just for a month because Halloween Kills is going to be day and date on Peacock Premium.
Okay. So
instead of going to the theater. So I'll pay $10 this month to watch Halloween Kills, and then I'll probably end up getting rid of it.
I mean, do you have cable? It's only $5 if you have cable.
I don't know.
No.
I do.
You'll look into it at a later time.
Nobody's
Paramount Plus. I do have Paramount Plus.
I have Paramount Plus.
Absolutely, I have it. Star Trek is on Paramount Plus, and it would be one of the last ones that I would cancel if I was canceling something.
There's a bunch of really good movies on there too. Like I think they did a really good job of like consolidating their back catalog of franchises and movies. I very often go in there and be like, "Ooh, I forgot to look on Paramount Plus. What do I want to watch?" I love it.
I like Paramount Plus.
And then Apple TV Plus.
Yeah,
I think
there's been some good things. Brave New World was on Apple TV, I think.
No, that was Peacock.
Oh, well, that was great then. Another point for Peacock.
The only thing that I watch religiously on Apple TV Plus is
Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso. And it is a really good show. I mean, it's a very good show.
But I very much want to start watching For All Mankind and Foundation. Because they just seem so cool. There's a lot of really cool miniseries on Apple TV Plus. But in regards to it being a Prime streaming service, it's not. But all of the programming is prestige level. It's
but I've heard they only have like 12 shows.
There's not a lot there.
They're all very expensive. It's all on the screen. They are very prestige, but there's not a deluge of content. So it's everything that I watch on there is worth the $4 or $5 a month, but it's not the streaming service that I go to just look around and see if I can find something and get lost in it. It's not. It's just it's not that deep at all.
Yeah, there's a couple of very good things. Some things that are probably good if you're into it, but I'm like, I'm probably not ever going to watch it.
Yeah,
you know?
I heard you when you go to it, you don't even scroll. It's just a PDF of titles.
No, you just call in and tell a guy named Mark what you want to watch.
So it's
and he
hella
sends
prestige.
it to your house.
It's so prestige and bespoke. We'll use other stupid long words that are elitist.
A bespoke streaming service.
Yeah, a bespoke streaming service. What you do is every day Apple sends you a password.
Yeah.
When you want to log in, you recite the password into your remote.
It's in a cardboard box like an iPhone.
Yeah. It just arrives at your doorstep every day in a
and then an owl flies out of your remote and you wait an hour.
Little box. It's a beautiful little box with have you ever gotten an iPhone or a watch? You had to pull the little tab and it's really pretty. Yeah. It's a beautiful little box, password inside. When you want to start watching something, you have to incite the password and do a special move, which I can't reveal in visual form because it's
they could charge you for that.
It's different for every user. There's copyright rules and all kinds of shit. But it's a lot of effort, but it's really, really worth it because you're a part of that club.
Yeah.
Walled gardens. Nice. Here I come.
But all that rigmarole of watching the show aside, which is totally true. Foundation is great. It's got an old school sci-fi look and feel to it. And they have they've taken Lee Pace as the emperor, and the story jumps ahead hundreds of years sometimes at a time. So Lee Pace is a clone of the emperor. And it's a good way to have the same guy. They have a cool thing where there's always three of them. Brother Day, Brother Dawn is the young one, and Brother Dusk is the older one as they cycle through, which is interesting. And also the story is great. I'm not going to go into it at this late hour, but it's very cool. And there's a character also named Salvor Hardin, right? It's not a very common name because I'm assuming Asimov made it up. And they have changed the, I believe, race, but definitely gender of, definitely race. It was written in 1931 or whatever. But Salvor Hardin is a black woman, and I was watching it, and I was like, that's great. It's not like Salvor is a man's name traditionally. You make the character whomever you want, and it's been cool.
There's no internet forum of Asimov head purists who are like, not my Savor.
Yeah, probably not that I've seen. I don't know. It's a very esoteric fandom, but
oh, that's such a good band name, Esoteric Fandom.
Esoteric Fandom. Yeah.
Only playing alleys next to popular venues.
And you know what? I also shouldn't be. I'm only 99% sure that all of the characters in the original one were white, because Asimov was a pretty forward-thinking guy, and I don't want to say for sure that he didn't.
I don't think anyone on this podcast is going to call you to carpet for that. I
wanted to be fair to Isaac Asimov.
I don't think he gives a fuck either.
I don't think he cares either. He's been dead for how long, and his texts are how old?
I guess even 1 minute he might not care.
The context of when those books were written too is probably to take into account as to the reality of how his characters were depicted.
Yeah. But it's a sweeping story, and it like I said, it jumps ahead hundreds of years sometimes.
Do you know how many episodes the first season is going to be?
I don't know.
We'll look it up some other time. Don't worry about it.
All right.
But we are against the clock. Thank you for playing this game with me. What's worth your dollars in the streaming wars? I think it sounds like almost all of them are worth it to some degree. It just depends on what you want to watch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people who will turn they'll turn their subscriptions on and off, almost like the seasons changing based off of what they want to watch. I mean, I subscribe to Shudder because I love horror movies, and tons of dumb, awesome horror movies show up all the time. So it's it's all the only one I don't bother with is AMC Plus because I don't understand it.
Yeah, that's the one that I was like, enough.
Yeah,
I am not doing this. I like the watch. Kevin Can Fuck Himself is a good show. I am not paying for AMC Plus.
No,
it's done. Foundation has 10 episodes.
Nice. They're only up
and-
to like 4 right now, right?
3 just aired. And it's also one of the sources. So Asimov coined the word robotics and also psychohistory, and psychohistory comes into play in Foundation. They're both in the dictionary.
Well, on that note,
There we go. Noted up.
I'd like to say good evening and thank you for joining me today, guys. I appreciate it. You're my favorite people, and I think we did Papa JD proud.
Yeah,
I don't
hope
care.
so.
I
He'll
don't
never
give a
find
shit,
it.
yeah.
We'll never hear about it.
He'll never watch or listen to this, so it doesn't matter. Like and subscribe and write about us in your diary. Do that thing where you write our first name and your name and the name of the podcast and find out what our kids' names would be like. Anyway, turn on notifications. Don't miss our midweek Thunder rounds that we don't really do anymore, but we will continue to do them
Thunder
someday.
rounds.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Don't forget to join us next Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the dot. Probably not. Maybe most of us will be here, but either way, we'll be talking about comics and pop culture and having a really, really good time. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for everything. We'll see you guys later. Have a very, 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 very good night. Bye.